Hello, and welcome to SNL Sucks, the podcast where we critique Saturday Night Live from the perspective of a comedy writer slash performer who is extremely not famous, but has been doing it for a very long time, and that'd be me, Fred Garvin. So, this is the Lin-Manuel Miranda episode, October 8th, Season 42, Episode 2. I just saw the cold open with the kind of a replay of the vice presidential debate, which broke into a breaking news of the Trump comments about, can I swear on this? Of course I can. It's my podcast. Where he just came out that he said he likes to grab women by the pussy. And big news. So, of course, they had Alec Baldwin back as Trump, which is fine by me, as long as he's not talking about his sweaty balls. And they cut away to Clinton, who was on a remote celebrating, drinking champagne, dancing with her people. It was good. Nice, quick opening. They played on the open mic, Trump getting caught talking. After the interview, he was talking about the hurricane. Matthew coming and said vulgar things about it. I think the vulgarity could have been better. It was a good concept. I think they could have had better dialogue in there. But overall, pretty good. Pretty good. Alec Baldwin's a good Trump. Kate's a good Hillary. And I look forward to seeing, I don't know, every episode opening with Trump and Hillary. I think they do a good job. Up next was the opening monologue with Lin-Manuel. And he came out and said he was the starring in Hamilton, which it was a good thing he said that, because I had no idea who he was. And I don't know who 21 Pilots are either, so the musical guest. I'm out of touch. So we just kind of sang a song and threw in some Trump jokes, and that was about it. He looks really short, but I don't know. Can't really say much. Okay, up next was the creepy campground couple. A couple was a regular kind of normal couple, was singing some songs, and they were sitting with another couple. Turned out the other couple was kind of creepy. Brother and sister holding hands, a kiss at the end. And they also liked to sing terribly. Very loud and kind of like Eastern European accent. And there wasn't a lot to this sketch. I don't think this should have made the show. There was no ending. I guess it was it was okay when the normal woman was normal, and the normal man kind of liked them and was egging them on just a little bit. So that was a little bit funny, but overall not a fully formed idea. There was no ending. I mean, the ending was kind of a decent turn where the normal man kind of joined them in singing, but then they just put up the applause sign and people clapped and it faded out, and that was it. I wouldn't have done this sketch. Up next was the Crucible Cast Party music video. Good start, a awkward production of The Crucible from high school, and then it evolved into a video about the after party where all the cast gets together and drinks a lot of Sprite and has a lot of pretzels and innocent stuff. It was okay. One thing really did bug me throughout the whole thing. They did an extreme close-up of one of the boys from the high school play, and he had braces on and he was licking his lips and stuff, but he had like 5 o'clock shadow, like serious 5 o'clock shadow. And I went to a boys' high school, and there was only one boy in my high school, or at least in my class level, that actually had anything resembling that. They should have had a very, very clean shaven with a football mustache, like 11 hairs on each side. That was my only big gripe with it. It was decent. I like a lot of guys talking to each other, kind of the gay boys in theater joke. Works every time though. So, meh. It was alright. I didn't hate it. Up next was the substitute teacher sketch. Leslie came out to address a classroom and said they all stunk, and they had a new substitute teacher. I guess they've been rough on previous ones. So in comes Lin-Manuel as the new substitute, who really tried to connect with them, like overly try to connect, try to be their bro, and use a lot of cool young people phrases to try to connect with them and get them to like him. I guess the twist was that they had seen all this before. They knew what he was going to do. They anticipated his every move to try to endear himself to them. And then he went over to one girl and barely put his hand on her shoulder and asked her if she knew how to read. And then Leslie comes back in storming and say, "What the hell are you doing?" Like he's not allowed to, like he was molesting them. So the sketch was just so bad. It should not have been in the show. There's maybe a germ of an idea with the teacher that keeps doing the same thing as the previous teachers, but this was not good. Not good at all. Okay, up next was a little pre-tape Kellyanne Conway's day off. She's the campaign manager for Trump. So it's a Walking on Sunshine kind of a song playing in the background. She's enjoying her day off. And then the phone rings and she has to go on CNN and defend a Trump tweet. Then she goes back to her day off. Then they call and she has to go on CNN and defend a Trump tweet. And then she goes back to her day off, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it got increasingly exaggerated. This was cute. I actually liked this. It was quick. It progressed. It got increasingly exaggerated, and it was good. And there were a lot of funny lines in it. About a lot of funny lines, they took a good opportunity to make up things that Trump would say in the future, which in the future will probably not seem as outrageous as what's ahead in the real future. Up next was Weekend Update, and if it wasn't for Trump, it would have been really, really bad. It started off with some good Trump jokes, actually a lot of them, a lot of Trump. He's all over the place. And then it kind of went downhill. They introduced Pete to talk about drugs, but all he did was talk about his hair and how he's on Propecia and it's affecting him. Then the other special guest was Tina Fey and Jimmy Fallon as the two undecided suburban Philadelphia white women. And they just kind of giggled through the whole thing. It wasn't really good. And that was about it. So Weekend Update. Anything about Trump? Good. Anything not about Trump? Bad. Up next was the Wells Fargo sketch, where kind of started off weird, a kind of a musical from old time, where they're waiting for the Wells Fargo shipment to bring them some instruments. A bunch of people were singing. Then Wells Fargo came, but he had no instruments. He just wanted to give everybody a bank account because he was a big-time banker and needed to meet his quota. And I did have one issue, a logic issue with it. They didn't really know what a bank account was, but then at the beginning, but then they kind of suddenly knew what it was and what a bad person the Wells Fargo guy was. So I don't know when they learned it. There was no time lapse. It was kind of weird, but it was okay. An okay little sketch. Had some good characters. I don't know. This was weird. Up next was Diego Calls Home. I don't know what this was. It was a Hispanic guy in a phone booth. I wonder where did they find that? And he's talking with his mom about his job in Spanish and the food he eats and his friend Preston, who has baby blue eyes, but they didn't go the gay route, or at least they only alluded to it. And he says a lot of American things. And I mean, some mildly funny lines in there in the pre-tape, and then he hung up. And I don't know if I would classify it as a sketch. It wasn't terrible, it didn't offend me. It was just kind of there. Actually a little sweet, actually. Kind of a little bit of a sweet moment, I guess. Okay, up next was, I believe, a parody about a show, Stranger Things. Two guys kind of talking about the show, and they had a clip from the show. They did some characters that I had no idea who they were, so my bad. I don't have any familiarity with what they were trying to do. So I will take this time to say how much it really bugs me that they're reading cue cards so badly. Leslie and Keenan came out as parents. The same characters they've done a million times. They all sound the same. And they have to look away. When they're not speaking, they're looking away at a cue card to see when their line is coming up. And when they are speaking, they're looking at a cue card, reading their line, and then maybe at the end of the line, they'll look at the person they're talking to. It's really annoying. The other people in the sketch didn't do it. I don't know, did the writer just change their lines at the last minute? Or did they not bother to memorize a little dialogue? I mean, sure, keep a cue card there as a backup in case you blank, because blanking on stage is not good. And I could see how you could blank when you're in front of so many people, or go up, as I've heard it referred to. Yeah, it might have been good, but damn those cue cards. And closing the show was a sketch, kind of a foxhole sketch where a guy got shot, and he asked the Sarge to tell his girlfriend that he loved her, and loved the Sarge, loved the girlfriend, and also to get rid of a butt plug and some song lyrics and any pictures of him looking sassy as he was dying. That was kind of funny. Maybe, usually the last sketch is the worst, but boy, as far as sketches, it was the best. So, save the best for last for once. Or maybe they didn't think it was the best. Maybe they thought everything else was better. They were wrong. So, kind of a meh show. Pissed me off a couple times. So Saturday Night Live, for your penance, I would like you to say 2 Jane Curtins and a Dan Aykroyd, and try to learn from your mistakes. Try to have your actors more rehearsed so they don't have to read cue cards, and just have things make sense. Oh, and there's one thing in this last sketch, and don't have 2 people with a lisp in the same show. Seems like every show has things done multiple times, like multiple game shows or multiple jokes about someone being hot. Don't overuse that. Spread it out. Save it for next week. And that's it. I'm Fred Garvin for SNL Sucks. You can read more at snlsucks.com with links to all the previous podcasts. Good day.